Good morning and welcome to Over the Target. I'm Lee Smith. We have a terrific show this morning. Very special guest. Very honored to have her join us. You've probably seen her elsewhere. She's the author of two new books. She has a new book out, which we're going to be talking about. Yeonmi Park. She's a defector from North Korea. She's lived here in the United States for more than a decade. She's seen what's going on here in the United States, everywhere from our most prestigious educational institutions like Columbia University, where she attended. And she was quite surprised to see the different ways in which America was trending. And it looks as though it's becoming more and more, not only less tolerant, but in a sense more totalitarian. And she sees a lot of very dangerous similarities between what's happening here in the United States and what she saw, what she experienced, what she grew up with in North Korea. So welcome, Yeonmi Park. Thank you so much for being here with us today on Over the Target.
Thank you for having me on. It's an honor.
Thank you. So congratulations on your new book. And I want to get to your book and talk about your great new book while time remains. Before that, I want to be able to set for viewers. I want them to understand that, you know, you're not just someone who's saying, yeah, the United States looks crazy, woke culture and cancel culture, and this is really bad. People need to understand the context in which you're speaking, what you saw, what you grew up with in North Korea, and you're surprised to see similar things happening in the United States. So if you don't mind, if you can tell a little bit of your remarkable story, leaving North Korea as a child and winding up here in the United States.
Yeah, I was born in North Korea in 1993. When I was growing up in my hometown, I've never even seen the map of the world. We are completely isolated from the rest of the world, and we did not even know the existence of internet. And growing up in North Korea, every day was a survivor. The regime promised to provide us free housing, free food, free education, free healthcare. In reality, nothing was free and nothing was working. So as a child, my job was, finding food, really. I ate dragonflies, I ate grasshoppers, I ate plants. And that's how North Koreans are on average 5 inch shorter than South Koreans because of this systemic malnutrition that we experienced growing up. By the time when I was...
No, I was just going to say, because this is something that I'm so happy to have the opportunity to speak with you, but also ask different questions that have been on my mind for a long time. And number one is, like, growing up in a place like North Korea, where you're saying there were no maps of the world. So what do you imagine? Can you imagine that there's anything outside this type of existence? Did you have any, I don't know, any sense of what the world was like outside North Korea? Because my idea has always been, if people have no sense of it, right, but they know there's something wrong, what does that mean? If they can't see, they don't know what else is out there, but they know it's wrong, is that evidence that evidence of the human soul, that the human soul does demand liberty and freedom? So I'm pushing you into the answer a little bit too much, but I know that these questions are important to you too. I'm so glad to be able to ask you them.
So when it comes to North Korea, I think it's the biggest, almost study that we can do on humanity. When people say, happiness is a relative thing. If you don't see anybody's well fed and happy, you're not going to feel as miserable. I don't think that's quite true, even though you don't see anybody is happy or well fed. Like if you're in a Nazi Germany concentration camp, you know that you're miserable, you know that you're hungry. And seeing dead bodies in North Korea is like looking at a trees or like breathing air. That's how many people just die around you constantly. So we know that life is unbelievably tough. But when it comes to understanding our own reality, that's very unique. The regime removed the vocabulary in North Korean dictionary. The words like human rights, dignity, freedom, love, oppression, or even stress. They said, how can you be stressed living in a dictatorship? Living in a socialist paradise. So they removed the word depression from us. So they even took the words took away from us, that we could not even describe our own situation. But even though we did not know the words oppression, we knew that we were miserable and we were suffering. And that was very clear to me. Around me, myself, my parents, anybody that I saw, they were suffering.
Were there people around you who remembered a different time before before the totalitarianism, where people like, life is not always like this. I'll tell you what life was like before this, or I've actually seen life in other countries. Was there anyone like that around you to help give you hope?
So the thing is, in North Korea, we do not have a freedom of speech. The first thing my mom told me as a young girl was, don't even whisper, because the birds and mice could hear me. If I said one wrong thing, it was not just only going to kill me, it was going to kill 3 to 8 generations of my family along with me. So those kind of things, like the things were better old days, and you cannot say such a thing to anybody. And therefore, I thought that the universe began with a birth with my first dictator, Kim Il-sung. And they did not even tell me that I was Asian. They told me that I was my dear leader's race. North Korea has a different calendar. Our year begins when Kim Il-sung was born. We have different time zone. It's like a different planet they created.
So there's no sense of the past at all. It's that North Korea, there's this there's just this closed off place, and everything begins and ends in North Korea. Well, what is the rest of the world like? Because obviously there's a South Korea. How is the rest of the world described in official regime discourse?
Right. So North Korea, there's a reason why they are called as a hermit kingdom. It's a complete black hole of information. And how they describe to us is that Americans are cold-blooded reptiles. And you cannot search in Google and see if that's verified, right? That's the only information that were given to us. And second, about South Korea is they are colonized by American bastards. And they're suffering and they're being raped every day by American military. So that was our job, to go to South and kill Americans and liberate our people who were invaded by America. That was a narrative that North Korea is playing. And they were saying that Japanese were colonialists and they were evil. So North Korea, we were so blessed to have our dear leader to defend us from these evil countries that were trying to kill us. And that's why we are so fortunate that we should be grateful every single day for our dear leader, for his love for us and his defending for us. And that was a constant. It's like George Orwell's 1984. You have a hate week. You have to hate Americans with all your heart, and you should be grateful for the party that you're in.
We see how important it is to create, to create an enemy, right? To unify the social body. Well, so when was the first time that you saw holes in that narrative? Was it in North Korea? Or was it when you and your mother escaped? When you said, "Wait, not now, I know for sure that what we heard, what the regime has been telling us is not true." Yeah. Well, so when was the first time that you started to see holes in this?
So coming out of North Korea is a very slow process of deprogramming from all that brainwashing. So first really crack was in North Korea when I watched American film Titanic. And because until that moment, I did not know that your life could be something else. Entire time when I was in North Korea, my teachers told me that my only existence is for the revolutionary party. I'm a revolutionary. And dying for the regime was the most honorable death that I could do for my life. So I was dreaming of dying for the revolution and my party, the dictator, right? And then in the movie, the guy dying for a woman, love is such a shameful thing. I couldn't understand what that movie was about. And that moment, I really felt some sense of humanity and some sense of warmth, of freedom in it. But
How were
even
you? How were you? I was just going to ask, how were you able to watch the movie? How did this get past censors? How, what was they allow some movies in that they think have no political content?
so no, they don't. They do execute people for watching foreign information and
Wow.
distribute foreign. If you read the Bible, you get executed in North Korea. It's the most harsh country to be thinking, differently. We were able to get this. What was the times before DVD, the big thick one?
The VHS, the
Yeah,
cassette tape,
VHS.
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
cassette
Wow, it's
tape.
been a while. I've been thinking about it.
Yeah, so I think my uncle's house, they had some connection and got it from the smugglers from China. So it was a bootlegged material that was not allowed to watch. And North Koreans risked their life, literally, looking at these informations and to learn about the world. And that's how we watched it too. And that's really for the first time I knew that the outside world kind of existed. I mean, it might not be as scary as what the regime told me about.
Wow. Did you? I mean, in your story, it seems that your mother and father cared very much for each other, and and of course your sister, and you loved your mother. So it seems that there was a sense of love in your family. But so what was it? I want to come back to the Titanic because this is really terrific. So what was it that was so moving about that story? That it's these two strangers, they meet and they fall in love, and then the young man dies for the woman.
So for me, it was like I did not even know that was love because I did not know what love was, even though my parents were very loving to each other and to us. My father, until the moment he passed away, he never told me he loved me because we did not know the word. That word was not given to us. So we could not use the word to describe our feelings. And in the movie, many things that shocked me, even though it seemed like the movie was in the past, it looks so luxurious. People had like plates and food and glasses, and like I never seen a napkin in my life. In North Korea, I had one pair of clothes that I slept in, woke up, go to school. There's no such a thing that you change into evening gown or going out clothes like that. Like we have one worker's clothes and that's all we got entire year and many years from there on. So even seeing that, like people change, like what did changing mean? And then, I was waiting for at least it has to have some kind of political message, right? Every movie needs to have a message in North Korea.
Yeah, right.
And this movie didn't have anything. And just some guy and just should die saving this girl and dies. And I literally thought like this producer might have gotten executed after this. And everybody had to got to be executed. If that happened in North Korea, they would be all dead for making that movie.
That's that's very moving. So what after that? So did that help you? I mean, what did that changed your thinking? Obviously, it's the first time you'd seen these things. So when did you and your mother and your sister plan to leave? What inspired that? Because you started to understand the world outside.
It's not really I did not even know the word there, right? So it still got a little bit of glimpse and thought, okay, maybe not like outside the world might not be the monstrous, that horrible. Like North Korea literally describes foreign countries, like living hell. This is such a horrible place, the corrupt in a way that you cannot even unfathomable word that they tell us that we are so lucky we are in North Korea. And by the time when I was 13 years old, we just couldn't simply find any more food. And it was not even deciding to escape. If you were in a building that caught fire, like the only option is jumping out of window and see if you're going to make it or not. It was like that kind of decision. We didn't have the map or phone or anything to research.
I see.
I just saw the lights. I was living in Haesan, which is a border city of North Korea. And I was able to see the electricity lights coming from Chinese side at nighttime. And that's when we thought if we go where the lights were, we might be able to find a bowl of rice. And that was how we risked our life to cross that river.
Wow. So when was it during your travel? So, right, you crossed the river, you were in China. I know you went through Mongolia. When was it that you decided to come to the West, decided to come to the United States?
So I came to study at Columbia University in 2016. And
were you living in China at the time, or where were you?
no, so initially when I was 13 with my mother, I got to China and we were sold separately as sex slaves. So two of us were human trafficked there, and 2 years later we were rescued by Christian missionaries from South Korea. They came and they helped us, and they told us how to escape, and they said that if we walk across the frozen Gobi Desert in minus 40 degrees, literally in 2009 when I was 15 years old. And once we got to Mongolia through the Gobi Desert, and then from there, several months later, we were rescued to South Korea. So in South Korea, after 5 years of there, I got a chance to come visit America, and I had a luck to write my first book in New York, and that's how I started Columbia University.
Okay, so South Korea, we're gonna take a break in just 1 second, but I just want to ask. So South Korea, I mean, that must have been, excuse me, a remarkable difference between North Korea, as well, a remarkable difference from China as well, where you really started to get a sense of what the world is a very big place, and actually life is not like North Korea. There's a lot of forms of life, and there's a lot of different things to do. That must have been pretty dramatic as well, just being in South Korea.
Yeah, I mean, I really learned that being free is not easy. Being free was so painful and agonizing. It's, I never thought, like, thinking for yourself, that was not a thing for me. I remember my teachers were asking me, why don't you introduce yourself? And in North Korea, we don't have the word I. We only have the word we. So I was keep saying, we from North Korea. And she's like, what do you mean we? Like, you're you, like I. And then she's like, it's not that hard. Just maybe tell us what's your favorite color in the introduction. And I did not know what my favorite color was, because my teacher told me that our favorite color was red because it was a revolutionary color. And now, for the first time in South Korea, I have to decide what I want to wear, what haircut do I want to get, what I want to listen to, do I want to study, what do I do with my life? Like, I was suddenly free, and I was never free, and that was very, very hard to adjust in the beginning.
This is amazing, Yeonmi. Thank you so much. And I want to pick that up. We have to take a break. We're going to take a break. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, please make sure you make the jump with us. We're going to Epoch TV exclusively. We've got Yeonmi Park here having really fascinating. And I want to pick it up after the break on freedom is not easy, because we're going to talk about the United States too. But just that idea of freedom is not easy is so important. And you're someone who lived it. Amazing. Make sure you make the jump with us. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, pick us up on Epoch TV exclusively. Less than a minute. Make the jump. See you in a sec.
U.S. is funding China's rise to become a great technological power and a military power. People don't realize how pervasive we've been influenced.
How much it's hurt the United States.
Many of the media companies are influenced by China, the whole movie industry. And then we have these manufacturing has been decimated, that we lost 3 million jobs.
So how do we get our independence back and decoupling ourselves?
Every American needs to care about this, because it involves all of us. And that's why the answer lies in decoupling, in cutting off their power, or to stop feeding the dragon, and that it was our number one enemy.
Thanks for making the jump with us. We're here on Epoch TV exclusively with Yeonmi Park. Really mind-blowing conversation. Yeonmi, thank you so much again for being here this morning. So look, freedom is not easy. So I mean, this is the theme of this is the theme of so much important Western literature, from the Bible to Dostoevsky. This is the core. This is the core question. So you came to Columbia University. You said 2016. Is that when it was? That was when you first started at Columbia. So look, so you're looking around at these American students who were raised in a free country, free society, freeborn men and women, and you start to see strange things that that a free people are saying, and it sounds strangely a lot like, it's beginning to sound a lot like what you heard in North Korea as a kid. So what are your thoughts on that? And then I want to swing back around again on freedom is not easy, because I guess what you're seeing there is these young people are confessing that freedom is not easy and they can't live up to its demands. I'm sorry for putting words in your mouth. So what were you thinking when you got there, when you got to Columbia and you're meeting these students?
I mean, the first day going to the orientation, I literally thought, I mean, this is the end of civilization, is the end of Western civilization, that this nation is determined to commit their own suicide. I mean, the professors say the narratives were exactly the same things that my North Korean school teacher taught me. What the regime said in North Korea, the Columbia professors were saying, all the problems that we have in the world right now is because of the greedy capitalism and free market and the white men. And their worldview is so deranged, and it's such a deep in the groupthink that believing that men and women are different, that was the most controversial opinion you can ever have in the 21st century. Something that fundamental cannot be challenged. There's no such a thing, truth at Columbia. Everything is how you feel. How your feeling dominates logic, truth, and every fact you can imagine. And this is a place called academic, the home of the most great institutions you can imagine in the world. The Columbia University, Ivy League University, saying the most important thing is how you feel. And if you feel oppressed, you are oppressed.
What did you say to the other students? And I mean, they're really, this is their job, not right now, to poison young American minds, right? Were all of the other students buying into this? Yeah, I guess this great authority figure, this great teacher who teaches history or literature, I mean, if this is what they're saying, it must be right. Or were there other people who were rebelling against this or had a hard time with these ideas? What was, what was your social life there? Could you talk with people about other things? Say, this is nuts. Did some people agree with you, or everyone is buying into this garbage?
What was really remarkable about seeing my peers at Columbia is that they are one of the most fortunate people in human history, not just in America, not in the current day, right? It's in
you're
entire
absolutely
human
right.
Existence. Yes,
you're right. It's the top 1% of thousands and thousands of years of human existence. You're absolutely right. Not just America, right?
Yes, in the entire our existence as a humanity, they are the luckiest people, and they are actually genuinely unhappy and miserable because they got so brainwashed from their professors and teachers early on. They really think that the world is against them and they don't feel safe. And they were telling me how they're oppressed. And I asked them, like, what about America that you hate so much, that you want to dismantle the system, that you want to destroy the Constitution? And they said, oh, look out on the street. There are homeless people. And to a North Korean like me, I was like, what do you mean you have a homeless people? Like, you have a right not to work. In North Korea, if you choose not to work, you're sent to prison camp to work to death. It's not an option in socialist countries. You don't want to work. And for these people, that them practicing their freedom is somehow the most oppressive thing. They have no idea what other countries are actually like. And that is the excuse they keep giving, that they want to destroy America. And whenever I try to say, that I was asking my professor, like, I think there's a difference between men and women. And she was saying that I was brainwashed. And that's the end of discussion there. Did
you do all 4 years at Columbia? Did you stay the whole time?
Unfortunately, wow. I did. Yes.
Right.
I graduated on the first year of pandemic.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So, look, I mean, that's a pretty good transition, the pandemic, because what were your thoughts as you were watching different people being brainwashed by the ideology of the pandemic, right? I mean, again, a free country, America, a free people, and they're willing to give up all of their liberties for fear. And so it seems like that again aligns with what with your childhood in North Korea, fear.
Yeah, I think this is what I was studying a lot about the nature of democracy and what do you do when the majority go insane and when majority decide to persecute minority and the smallest minority is an individual. During the pandemic, the individualism was not accepted in this country. It is forced fear of safety that they believe that they were willing to copy the Chinese, the authoritarian model, like North Korean model, where shutting down people, shutting down businesses, lock down children, lock down people at their home. It's like almost home arrest. I was in Chicago during that time. That's the time when I woke up, I realized that America is not immune to tyranny. It's very possible that America can become like China, North Korea anytime in my lifetime. And I think that's why I wrote my book, While Time Remains. I really don't think that we have that much time left.
Right. Let's talk about this. Congratulations again. So it came out just in February, right? Brand new book. Congratulations. Very exciting. The title, While Time Remains, I mean, that sounds urgent. And you're saying within your lifetime, you can see this happening. Why? What are the different signs? I mean, we know a lot of the signs, but but for most people, it doesn't seem that urgent, right? Why for you? Why the urgency? What are we seeing?
Right. I mean, it's like we can make fun of the woke people every single day about their purple hair and anything that is deranged. But what is alarming more and more I see in America right now, it is in America, there is a ruling elite right now. The small group of people have so much power and influence, and they determine what is allowed to be spoken or not. They determine what is the truth or not. It's like North Korea or China, the Communist Party. They charge every narrative. They decide what is permitted and what is not. And America is becoming more like that. If they decide it's not allowed to speak, we cannot talk about it on Google, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. I mean, until the Elon Musk free the bird, right? It was no longer about majority.
Right. Look, I wanted to say, I meant to raise this with you. I just saw before we got on the air that they took one of our shows. They took one of our episodes of Over the Target off the air because someone was talking about the vaccine in a way they didn't like. I mean, this is not, this stuff, what people are saying, how these vaccines are failures. We have scientific evidence showing this, right? It's garbage, but nonetheless, and this Epoch Times is one of the most censored, right? We suffer so much censorship. It's absolutely insane. And I wanted to get your sense of that. And I think you're exactly right. I mean, not Epoch Times exclusively, but whether it's Google or whatever it is, all these people, I mean, it's just nuts. And you grew up in a culture of censorship. It was so bad you didn't even know anything was outside it.
Right. I think that's what they want it to be. Eventually, they silence all the dissenters like this. There's no distance in North Korea because they don't even know what that is. They oppress people to that degree. Now there's no more distance in North Korea. And in America, it's so hard to be a distance right now because especially you lose your job. If you have your own mind, you can think for yourself. If you don't follow this groupthink, you lose your job, you lose your dignity. They call you bigot and racist, and your children get bullied. And it's like we are being punished for the collective guilt, like North Korea. What is this thing called the white guilt, white privilege? Like nobody owned a slave that is alive today. And they call my son, who's half white, a privileged person. And because of his skin color, he will never get a sympathy. If he's a successful, work hard, they're going to say, because of your privilege, you are successful. Right. He will never going to get a sympathy from people that for his hard work and decency. And that in this division between people is seeded by American elite. When you divide people, when people don't trust each other, it's a perfect climate for the tyranny to rise. Right. And that's why North Korea, nobody can trust each other because we don't know who's a spy, who's going to report on us and kill us. And like in America right now, people are so divided, and this is not a good thing for our future. It's only a good thing for the dictator to rise.
Why do I mean? Again, I mean, you saw this, you've studied it now. Why does this happen? I mean, we know something about the fear, but there's also an element of cruelty to collectivism, a large element of cruelty. I mean, and if you can talk about cruelty for a second, the cruelty of collectivism. I mean, it seems that this is unfortunately a part of human nature as well, not just fear, but cruelty.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I really believe that, every human heart has the both dark and light, good side. We're not exception to darkness or goodness. It's all about what we choose to do with that complexity of being a human. And when this narrative is always of being good and bad and black and white, and that's what it is, like capitalism is bad, socialism and equity is good. Like that kind of narrative is usually bring a death up to millions eventually. And we've tried that. And I really genuinely believe that after going to Colombia and seeing my peers in New York City, majority of them who subscribe to this ideology of woke and collectivism, Marxism, they really just have good intentions. And the sad thing is these people in the ruling elite, they are twisting it and they're using these people with good intentions and misleading them and brainwashing them. And divide us.
I agree. No, I think you're right. I mean, I think that the majority of people, they want to do the right thing, and they're being coerced, right? They're being threatened, and also they do not yet distrust authority as much as they should. So look, we only have a minute or so left, but what I really want to know is, well, first of all, I want to get everyone to get your book and to read it, because I mean, if there's anyone who can describe what we're going through, it's you. But the other thing is, like, what do we have to do? So while time remains, what do we have to do while time remains? What is our hope? What's our foundation here?
I think I thought about that question a lot through writing my book. And it goes back to what our founding fathers said, being an individual, thinking for yourself, self-government, telling the truth in the times of this kind of actual, like when people are saying, like asking me why there's no revolution in North Korea, like why North Koreans are so dumb, they're putting up with this for 80 years. And first of all, North Koreans don't even know they are enslaved by the dictator. How do you fight to be free if you don't know you're a slave? But my grandmother knew. They knew the time before Kim's, but they didn't do anything because of the fear. They did not want to get killed, and they did not want to kill their children. In America, so far, the price is just losing your job and being called a bigot and Nazi. The price is not really literally 3 generations of execution. And that's why I have hope. We still have so much to, push back. We have that much leverage and power in our hands. And be an individual. Don't subscribe this group think, and think for yourself. And if you believe that the truth, defend it. And I think if we all do that at our homes and our community, the America become better than what we have right now.
Freedom is not easy. Being free isn't easy, as you said. Yeonmi Park, you're great. Thank you so much for coming here to the United States, for making your long journey, and thank you for inspiring us all. Thank you for being here today on Over the Target, and all of you who are watching. Boy, we really learned a lot. We learned about courage. We learned about freedom, and it's not easy, right? It's not just enough to say it's a God-given right. It's something we have to keep fighting for. Right? It's our founding fathers who won it. It's up to us to keep it. And thank you, Yeonmi, for the reminder of how hard it is. We're going to do it. God bless you all. God bless you, Yeonmi. Thank you so much again. We'll see you in the next episode of Over the Target. Why is Soros paying for these DAs who are basically destroying American cities?
Soros backed around 75 of these prosecutors nationwide, and they've outsized influence. The consequence is a near doubling in crime pretty much anywhere they are.
The point is the chaos. This is something for Americans to keep in mind.
Quote from Soros where he says, "My goal is to be the conscience of the world." This is sort of a trait that's actually common with people in positions of power, but power for itself is a goal of theirs.
Our great American cities falling to pieces because the money that George Soros has pushed to these incredibly destructive figures.